Um, okay, this workshop is going to be focused heavily on SEO and marketing use cases, but it's going to be a general Gumloop building workshop as well. So feel free to ask questions about non-SEO marketing related things. Showing my screen now. Okay, so the reason that we're focusing on SEO and marketing use cases is just because we found a lot of success with it and people seem to really enjoy it. Pairing AI with web data, website content, and like keyword traffic analysis has been really powerful. It's the sort of thing that works super well if you apply AI to it at massive scale. So let me just walk through the kind of the building blocks for these sorts of flows that are the most useful. Okay, I see questions coming in. I'm just going to click answer. Okay, my teammate can see them. Okay, and he'll be answering questions in chat. Okay, so the main things that you can pair with AI that result in a lot of value for SEO and marketing, well, workflows is web searching. So this node will Google search basically. So when you're doing competitive analysis and you want to see what other people are doing, the web search node is essentially how you can get Google search results and the URLs from those results. This is super useful, especially if you want to use the more advanced search API and search by country or with a specific Google search engine. Like if you wanted to just do events or news, you could do that as well. The website scraper is the next piece that we normally use in the puzzle to actually get the content. You can do our normal website scraper, which is fine. It gets the content from the page. But if you wanted to go kind of more advanced and get website content in Markdown format, which I'll go into a bit deeper through the workflow walkthroughs, then you can use advanced scraping. This will kind of clean up all the content on the page so it's in Markdown format. You can see what the headers are, where the links are embedded, and you can also kind of evade a lot of standard. It's using more advanced scraping techniques basically, so you can get more content from the web if you check off this use advanced scraping checkbox. The next thing and the newest set of features that people have really been enjoying are the SEMrush nodes. So similar to Ahrefs, SEMrush is kind of an SEO keyword analysis tool that a lot of large companies use to get to figure out what keywords to target, what has the highest traffic and highest difficulty. All of these nodes are kind of different tools within the SEMrush toolkit, but they can all be used in their own way. So if you wanted to get just overview information from a domain, like their ranking, their organic keywords that they rank for, I mean, all of these general SEMrush terms, you can get that for the domain as a whole. If you wanted to get specifically data about the keywords that this domain ranks for, you can use this specific node to get their position, the traffic percentage, the traffic cost, the actual keyword itself. And then these two nodes are pretty similar. Like if you wanted to get more information about a specific keyword, you can do that for each country. And then if you wanted to get keywords for a specific URL on your domain, let's say you're looking at one of your blog posts and you want to see what keywords this specific blog post ranks for, you can do that with this node. So if you pair all of these data ingestion tools together with AI analysis, so just a general Ask AI node, or you'll notice we're going to use a lot of these in the workflows we're about to walk through, this data extraction node, then you can kind of get the analysis that you would be doing on the SEMrush data or on the web data, but instantly with some tool that is probably taking more time and I wouldn't say smarter than you, but it is not cutting any corners. So if you prompt it the right way and you're feeding it the right data, this is like scaled knowledge work, just running for you anytime you'd like it. For both of these nodes, obviously, we can choose the model that we want. So for the more complex tasks, I would probably be using GPT 4.0 or Claude 3.5 Sonnet. I see a question in the chat that says, do we need to pay SEMrush? Do we need to pay SEMrush and create a SEMrush account for using nodes, or is it included in Gumloop subscription credits? So we cover the cost for you with Gumloop subscription credits. It's all included. I'm not sure if we expose the ability to add your own API key yet. Do we? I don't believe so, but that's on like the extremely near-term roadmap. So if you wanted to wipe away the credit cost on Gumloop by putting your own SEMrush API key in, you'd be able to do that as well. If you're already paying for it, or if like your company has a subscription or an API key that they use. Okay, so yeah, this is the overview of the general tools we're going to be using, and I'll dive into 4 different marketing use cases right now. So the first one I'll touch on is the internal linking flow that I posted on Twitter a couple days ago and on LinkedIn. This is a kind of an anonymized version of the one that we created with a customer. And I'll walk through exactly how it works. So the input to this flow is literally just the domain. It's your domain name. We wanted to make it as easy as possible. So all you have to do is specify your domain and also what a blog on your website looks like, which I'll explain in a second. But with your domain, we just reformat that piece of text so that we append /sitemap.xml. If I go to gumloop.com/sitemap, you'll see our sitemap. This is, we found, I mean, this is how you're supposed to be declaring to Google what the content of how the content of your website is mapped. So we just use the same approach by visiting your sitemap and looking at the links that are present there. We could take the approach of crawling your website, like visiting all links one by one, but that would just take 10 minutes, whereas the sitemap itself should be a really comprehensive overview of all of your content. Next, I get all the URLs. So I'm using get sitemap URLs is not the actual node. That's just a renaming of our notorious web agent scraper. This is just a node where you can take action, like clicking and scrolling and screenshotting. But in this case, I just wanted it to get all the URLs from this .xml file. And then here is a kind of annoying little step, but I didn't want to do internal linking for all of the pages on gumloop.com. I wanted to do it for just the blog content because that was the task at hand. So I specify what the blog.gumloop.com, I mean, it could be gumloop.com/blog, it could be whatever the routes that leads to your blog posts are, but I use this as input, and I have this subflow here, which I'll go into in a couple minutes. It's just like a really needless cleaning step that's kind of annoying, but it just takes all of the links and takes out the ones that aren't blogs so that we can focus on the blogs. The more interesting part of this flow is in find internal linking opportunity. So in case you guys aren't familiar, I'll just explain what subflows are really quickly. A subflow is how you use an entirely separate flow as a node in your build. So this is not a node you could find in the node menu, find internal linking opportunity. It is an entirely separate flow, which we can visit by clicking view subflow. And this is where all of the magic is happening for the internal linking that I'll go into in a second. But I just want to clarify that this node is an entirely separate flow that we can modify. The reason that's helpful is it allows you to kind of independently test your workflows. You don't need to run 1,000 if you want to just test this single tool. It makes them reusable. So if you wanted to use this internal linking flow somewhere else, you now have this separate tool that works for one blog post. And it just keeps things cleaner. Like if all of these nodes were present in this workflow, it would be even more daunting than it already is. So this really helps compartmentalize your builds. Okay, so what we're doing here, the inputs to this subflow, you'll notice it's blog link and all links. That's just what I named it. We have those inputs mapped as via input nodes. So blog link and all links. What this is doing is it is taking a single blog, processing it, analyzing all the content that you've written in that blog post, which I'll go over in a second. And then it's comparing it to all of the slugs, like the other blog posts that you have in your sitemap. So generally, the like blog.gumloop.com/whatever follows should describe what the post is about, like 5 best SEO automation tools or how to avoid AI hallucinations. The entire point of the slug is to be descriptive and explain what the content is about. So we use that as a way to let the AI know what that post is about and how to link it contextually. So if you mention in your blog post that we're analyzing, the single post that we're analyzing, if you say, I hate when my AI hallucinates, and it sees that there is another blog post that says how to avoid AI hallucination, it will suggest an internal link to that post. So to walk through what's happening, the single link, whatever blog post you feed in, is scraped with advanced scraping, just because it's slightly cleaner content. And then here is a little trick step that I added near the end just to improve the quality of the output. I noticed that if you scrape a lot of blogs, you'll always get like the suggested related posts at the bottom. You'll get the sidebar. You'll get the content from like the banner that they have at the top of the screen. But I don't want to be internally linking any of that. So I just feed it through a GPT-4o mini step, really fast, really simple. And I say, just tell me what the blog post says. What is the actual meat of the content? That reduces the context that you're feeding into the next step and makes things just a lot cleaner overall. And it's using such a cheap model that I would always recommend doing cleaning steps like this if you can. Next, I'm formatting a prompt. So this is the main prompt that is asking whatever LLM that we're about to feed it into to look at the content of the blog post and suggest all related internal linking opportunities. So current blog post URL is whatever we passed in from this node over here into input 3. I pass in the content to analyze and all of the internal links, kind of like you're dynamically formatting a prompt. Basically, all of these values get passed in at runtime, and then it gets fed into this Claude 3.5 Sonnet step that is really heavily specifying what I want out of this. So we tried this many times over the course of like 20 minutes tuning this prompt, and we realized that being as explicit as you possibly can and giving examples is the best way to get internal, like really high quality internal links. So I'm pretty deliberate in my instructions here. I say carefully read and understand the content. Basically writing a point form list of steps, just like you would be giving to a brand new intern who joined your team. You don't really want to leave any opportunity for like cutting corners or any hallucination. And I also provide a bunch of examples. So here are examples of what I would like. And I want it to rationalize its decisions as well. I will be linking every flow that I'm covering in this tutorial in the description of the video that I'll upload and in the chat at the end of the call. So you'll have all of this to continue on with. But basically, this prompt is super important. This is where you get the quality out of the LLM and where it's actually making the decision of what to link. Next, we are using an extraction step just to go from whatever unstructured content the LLM outputted into the values we care about so we can add them to our Google Sheet. If we probably could, to be honest, just go straight to this data extraction step so that we get a list of values to link to, the sentence that they're being linked from, the anchor text, and the rationale. We could ask GPT-4o to do that in one shot, but we found that if you split it up into 2 tasks, one to do the thinking and one to structure the output, you get slightly higher quality output. And then all of that goes into a Google Sheet for each blog post. So if you have 500 blog posts, one by one, it will be scraping, comparing to the opportunities to link to, and writing all of those opportunities to the sheet. This little section here was an addition we added near the end, where we just wanted to avoid any time that the model was linking to itself. So this is a common pattern we noticed that was super annoying, but it's almost too good of an internal linking opportunity to pass up when it sees the word AI hallucinations, for example, and the post that we're reading is about AI hallucinations. So obviously the word AI hallucinations is in like the first line, and the model would often try to link to itself, which was like the dumbest suggestion ever and not something that you should be internally linking to. So we just filter out any time that it suggests linking to the same link. That's basically it. And we also wrap this last step in an error shield so that if any blog post, let's say, was deleted or for some reason causes an issue while being scraped, it will just skip over that safely and move on to the next blog post so you don't lose all of your progress. The error shield is kind of like a try-catch on Gumloop, if you're not familiar with the concept. So it took the better part of a morning to get it working. Most of the work was actually done by the customer who knew what internal linking opportunities were good. But there were some little tricks that we added later in the day, like this removing of duplicates, like when it linked to itself, that was added a bit later. And some of this prompt was added later. Like I don't think we started with examples, but we noticed that on some really tricky blog posts that it was being kind of dumb. So we made sure to add good examples. This is available as a template on Gumloop. I've already published it as a template. Yeah, can we show the final output? Sure. So I'll just do gumloop.com. Save and run. So it's getting the sitemap. Yeah, does anyone have a website that they would want me to? I see someone saying, could you use a real world example? Could you send me your domain with a bunch of blog posts you want internally linked? Sharefable.com. Cool. Okay, there's a lot. I'll go with the first one. Let's visit it and see what the blog path is. Okay, I'm assuming it's at /blog. It is. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to take this. For context, let me just go look at what it outputted for gumloop.com. I visit the Google Sheet. And this was a collective Google Sheet I just made public to everyone. So there's a bunch of content in here from other people's attempted runs. But yeah, so we'll take like Agent Hub to Gumloop origin story. And it links to why we built Gumloop, which is, the justification makes sense. One problem with Gumloop is that I didn't know how to write good slugs when I was making these blog posts. So we only have like 6 blog posts, so there's not a lot of content to actually go off of. So I'll run it on your live example and we'll see the quality that it outputs. So, oh wait, here. And then we want to filter out that. And I just want to make sure that your sitemap exists. So I'll go to sitemap.xml. Okay, you have no sitemap. Maybe this is the sitemap. There we go. There's no blogs in the sitemap. Maybe it's in /blog. The first input should be just the domain. Yeah, the next step would be linking it into another AI step to generate the content and like run it through SEMrush. I can show you the subsequent flows that I would attach this right after we run this. Does anybody have, I'll just go to one of these other links that has a sitemap that is parsable. m8l.com. Okay, that one should be good. And let me visit the sitemap. Sweet. It's all there. Okay, we're good. So that's the domain. /blog. And let's run it. That's all you need to input, just whatever your domain is. And then, okay, filter out non-blogs failed. What was the input? What was the output of this step? Okay, it failed to get any URLs from your sitemap for some reason. I'm going to fix this live. Unsure why that's happening. I would put all the, I'm just going to hotfix it so that we can at least see it live working as if the sitemap was parsed properly. I'll put all the links, this sitemap separated by commas. Okay, it understood what I meant. I'm just going to copy paste this in a second. Yeah, I wonder why this is not being parsed like an average sitemap. One more second. Okay. I'm just going to delete this and add an input node here. Delete this. Okay. Imagine the sitemap works, then we can run it. Okay, so it's filtering out non-blogs, and now it's finding the internal linking opportunity for 15 blogs at a time. This concurrent step execution changes a bit depending on what premium tier you're on, but the more the higher tier you're on, the more steps will execute at the same time. If you're on the pro plan, you get 15. If you're on enterprise, some of our users have 30 plus, but it just helps things go faster. And then we can go look at what's being outputted here. Let me just close the full snippet a little bit. Okay, so I don't actually know what this means, which makes it a bit harder to look at the quality, but in book summary, the MarTech handbook, the word marketing was linked to KS Marketing Digital, which I think means what is digital marketing, which is a good internal link. Okay, now I'm out of my depth language-wise. But okay, 5 Fuerzas oh wait, this is embarrassing. Buyer persona was linked to the word buyer persona that was present in this post. Yeah, these are, I mean, it's going to keep going for all of your blog posts. This might take up to 5 minutes to go one by one. They're good, no worries. Okay, cool. Obviously, there's a bit of tuning you can do. I pretty heavily anonymized this prompt that I made with the original user because a lot of this content was specific to their use case. Like they were explaining the context behind their business and what they're trying to focus on from an SEO perspective. So this is like generalized so that anyone could just run. But yeah, if you wanted to change the quality of the content, I would recommend modifying this exact step here. I'll look into why this didn't work, but hopefully it makes sense why I just copy pasted all of these links as a workaround. Yeah, and it's still running on all of these other posts, adding them to the sheet. Okay, let's, I wanted to cover, I have 3 more other use cases, but let me run it with one other. Actually, I'll just move on to the next use case and we'll come back and run it on someone else's sitemap.xml if we still have time at the end. There's just some other things I wanted to get to. Cool. Okay, AI Content Advisor. This is a completely separate flow that uses no SEMrush yet, but a lot of web searching. So what it was trying to do is if you have a post, you scrape it and you format this prompt given the content of your post, but you're also providing the web search results from the keywords you're trying to target. So this post here is a post about avocado toast. And obviously you want this to rank for avocado toast. So as the second input, I'm specifying the keyword that I want to rank for. And then in this subflow, it is doing a pretty basic search. It is finding the top 3 results on Google. It's scraping all of those results. And then it's asking the AI to just clean up the content. Another cleaning step with a really simple and fast model, just so we get like the actual blog content that there no like headers or footers to muddle the information. And then I say here the 3 sites I want you to compare to my site. Run it through a much smarter LLM step that is now armed with the content of your blog post and the content of the 3 best performing blog posts for that keyword. And then it will make the suggestions that you should apply to your current content to make it rank better. It's scraping, running the top 3 extraction step. You can always go visit your running subflow by clicking view run here. We can go check on it. It's doing all the scraping. You can go back. And then the analysis will be outputted right here. One thing to note is that I'm putting this in an output node so that we can see the analysis on Gumloop, but we could be throwing in like a Google Doc. We could link another AI step that is actually writing the content, or like taking your content and improving it and then writing that to a Google Doc. We could be writing it to WordPress if that's what you wanted to do, like actually publish your improved content to WordPress, or publishing it directly to Ghost, which is another content management system that's a little more complicated. But basically, wherever you want this content to go, you can dump it there. And it is the recommendations it's making are, I mean, the other articles provide more step-by-step instructions for how to make avocado toast. They have other variations and topping ideas. And that is really true. Like if you go to this post, can we publish to Webflow? That is on our backlog and one of the next posts, one of the next nodes that we're publishing. We thought it would be really easy to make a Webflow node, but it turned out to be a little more complex because of all the settings that you can have. But yeah, it'll be out soon. So this is like a really thinly, it's a kind of thin content. There's not a lot of extra information here. But if we look up the word avocado toast, the top results actually has like variations and more images, more tips, like additional bonus tips and variations for like loaded avocado toast and tomato basil. This one is much more rich with information. So I think that's why it's ranking better, probably some other factors, but the AI is able to look at this content, look at yours, and kind of call you out for what you could be doing better. That is the content advisor. I'm publishing this as a template later today. That one's really simple. It could really stretch it to make it analyze like 100 results and actually write the structure of the post and then publish it. But I wanted to keep things simple for templated use cases. Okay, this flow is a keyword clusterer. So I was not familiar with this entire concept, but someone showed me the lights who is an SEO expert. And apparently these are all the keywords that they wanted to target as a marketing firm. So there are a bunch of general keywords in a category that they wanted. They want it from this set of like 100, I don't know how many keywords, from this set of 200 or 300 keywords, they wanted to have some targeted content that would hit a grouping of them because there's a lot of related keywords in there. You don't need a different blog post for all of these. So what they do is they feed in this keyword list. They join them into this long chunk of text, and then they have an extraction step with Claude 3.5 Sonnet. I identify a list of data where the values are keyword cluster name, article title, entity name, and keywords. So all this is doing is it's going from a list of 300 to groupings. It's putting all of the like Disney things or the Inside Out characters together, and it's putting all of the Lilo and Stitch stuff together, which we'll see in a second. But it's understanding the context of each keyword and how to group them. So if we run this, what's happening is it goes from that long list of keywords into this grouping. And then for each grouping, we are running the keyword through SEMrush to get the search volume. That's really all we care about in this case, but I could be getting like the competition, the database, like the country that we're actually reading from, the keyword difficulty, the number of results. And then I'm just aggregating the amount of traffic for that keyword. So for each cluster, I find the aggregated amount of traffic, and then I dump it in a Google Sheet here in the cluster output. So for each one, I am getting the article title that we should hit, the keywords that it's targeting, and the general MSV, so that you can sort your targeted content based on whatever grouping is going to have the highest amount of traffic on the web. Can we use I never know how to say that. I don't know if it's hrefs. Feel free to correct me in the chat, or ahrefs. But yeah, it should be interchangeable. We just haven't integrated with hrefs yet. But in an ideal world, every SEMrush node that exists on the platform will have an equivalent hrefs one to get like keyword information or information about your domain or your blog post. We just chose SEMrush because they had a really easy to use API, and the users who wanted it were using SEMrush already. That is the keyword clusterer node or flow. Okay. This other flow is even more complex. SEO content planner. Okay. So this flow here is taking a list of URLs or a list of blogs that you think are related to the content you want to target. So like if you're trying to make a push for more content about how to build with AI, you would link all of your blog posts in that general category as context for this flow. It is a little daunting to see all these nodes together, but it's pretty simple what's happening. It goes blog by blog and reads it, summarizes what you decided to write about, and then feeds all of those summaries into one Claude 3.5 sonnet step. So that 3.5 sonnet step is taking all of the summaries and then coming up with 60 new ideas for keywords in this general space. So if you're like a insurance provider and you've written about 5 different types of insurance, it will come up with 60 keywords that you might not have targeted yet, and output them as a list, like a comma separated list. The reason we're using Claude 3.5 Sonnet here is because this is a really creative task, and where all of the quality kind of lies in the ideation for new keywords. So we don't want to skimp out and choose a cheaper model. Then I split the text, which means I'm going from this massive string or this piece of text that has commas in between it for every keyword, and I'm splitting it into a list. And then for each item in that list, I am finding the keyword, the keyword, it's already the value we're passing in, but I'm outputting the keyword, the search volume, and the keyword difficulty. And then I'm formatting that into this little paragraph. And then for every keyword that SEMrush had data on, I have another Claude 3.5 sonnet step that is outputting the analysis of what are the low-hanging fruit, what are the keywords that seem to have really high traffic but low difficulty, just like you would go one by one and look at all of the different opportunities, and it's dumping that in a Google Doc. So if I were to go to gumloop.com and write, let me just find a couple links on gumloop.com. Web scraping and AI, sure, that's one. Next post would be, what work can AI automate? And then I'll do 2 more. AI hallucinations. And then how to label data with AI. Okay, if I specify those 4 related blog posts, this is like the general direction I want more content to be written in. Then I can press run. It'll go post by post. It's scraping all 4 at the same time because of that concurrent step execution, summarizing all 4 at the same time. And then now it's doing the analysis to come up with 60 new keyword ideas. If I wanted to be really clean here, I would probably rename this to like make 60 new ideas. I won't do that, but renaming is a nice way to label nodes so you understand what's going on at a high level. Okay, very little content. was found on SEMrush. All of these keywords seem to be pretty bad with the blog post that I picked. AI automation. So I would say be very general. So we hit high volume keywords in the related space. And what I'm going to do is, instead of starting it from the beginning, I'm able to resume this step from here. So now that I've tweaked the prompt to get more kind of general purpose high volume keywords, I'm going to click resume from here, and it's going to skip all of this. So we don't have to use those credits again or wait. If it were to have taken a couple minutes, we've saved that time. Now the keywords are much more general purpose, like AI data extraction, AI for repetitive tasks, AI workflow automation. The problem before was that all of the words that were suggested by the AI were so specific that SEMrush had no data on them. So it was just skipping over them. So if the same experience you would have had if you visited SEMrush and you looked for traffic on AI keyword results or something, you would have basically no data. It would just say, I'm sorry, I don't have any information for this weird niche keyword you looked up. But now we have the report generated about like the seemingly most valuable keywords. And one thing I don't like here is it didn't tell me what the volume was for each. Like, I want to see actually why AI for SEO is the most high value keyword here. So I'm going to change this prompt. This is the one that's doing the final analysis to find low-hanging fruit and generating that HTML report. I want to say specify the what are we feeding in? The search volume and difficulty. Volume and difficulty for each high value keyword. Now, if I were to resume it from here, it has the same data as it had last time, but it has a bit more extra guidance in terms of the sort of content it should be generating. And we'll get a link to this Google Doc that it's writing in a second. It should be just like this or something very similar, but with the data that we care about. Okay, now it's skimped a bit on we have the volume, but it's not as well formatted with justifications. So what I'm going to do is provide justifications for each. And I'm going to choose GPT-4o, just because I find it listens to rigid instructions a lot better. I will make an effort to publish everything I've shown so far as a template. I'll show you in a second where to view these templates, but let me just make sure this is good quality. Okay. So now this is yeah, okay. Include no styling, just simply formatted HTML with headers. And then resume from here. Okay. While this is running, I'll just show you let me actually finish it, and then I'll show you where to view these templates. Actually, I'll show you now. Okay, in SEO and marketing, there's going to be 3 more templates posted after this workshop. Okay, now we have the format that I wanted. I just want to know what the search volume is, what the difficulty is, and why it thinks this is something I should target. What I would do next, now that I have all of these high value keywords, these are like the high value ones, these are the promising ones based on its analysis, I would be going one by one and most likely making a flow that looks at what are the top, let me look at what are the top results for this keyword. This is what I would do manually if I was trying to make content to target this. So there's some sponsored stuff, obviously. And then it's a HubSpot, 18 best SEO things. Yeah, I mean, I think this would probably be one of the best ways to rank for this sort of keyword, a list comparing different options and putting ourselves at the top or something. Same thing for what is the top result for AI prompt engineering, I wonder. I wouldn't need to do this search manually because I could just have AI look at all these results and actually write a guideline for what the best competitive content would be. Okay, it's an AWS post that is explaining what prompt engineering is. Cool. So it seems like if you're looking up AI for SEO, you're more looking for a tool that will solve it for you. Whereas if you're looking up AI prompt engineering, you're looking for information. I mean, based on Google doing their job correctly, if the top result is a informative post explaining what the topic is, then that is most likely what people are looking for and spending the most time on. But now that I have this flow working as I like, I just press save, and it's structured as I had expected. And if I were to feed in new content here for a different competitor or company or grouping of blog posts, it should work the same with the same quality. This is another use case that is kind of really complex. It is taking, I guess if you have any questions, if you make a template and people use it, can you get paid? That is something that we are working on, actually, making a template directory so that you can publish your content and then assign a cost to it. So if people want to pay $5 to just clone your template or $10, whatever that might be, you could be able to make money. I think that's something we're really excited about, letting our users monetize their efforts. Yeah. Also, I think a Gumloop flow is only as useful as kind of the insight of the person who made it. So if you have some niche problem that you know how to solve, encoding that knowledge into a Gumloop flow is where the real magic is. So if we can let you distribute that, that would be a net win for the platform. This flow I built quite a long time ago, but it's another SEO flow for a different use case. It takes a blog post and it finds all the valuable keywords that you're missing out on. So if I were to run it, let me just not flood my Notion with tests here. And I'll just hit run. So it's looking at the blog post, and then this subflow is analyzing all the content and having two different AI steps. One is coming up with 15 really short keywords, 2 to 3 words. One is coming up with, I call them keywords, but I think they're called search phrases. But one is coming up with slightly longer, like higher intent search phrases that are 4 to 6 words. And then for each of those, I'm running them through SEMrush to find the difficulty, the search volume, the competition. And then I'm using AI again to extract the ones that are seemingly high value, the keyword and the justification for why this is a promising one. And then I'm outputting that here. And then for each of those keywords, I'm looking at the things that are ranking best. But I'm kind of going crazy here a little bit. This is more complex than it needs to be. I'm filtering out all of the Reddit and YouTube results because I don't want to be competing against those. I'm not making Reddit posts or YouTube content. I'm scraping the blog post. I am screenshotting it and running it through an AI image analysis step. The main reason I did this was because for the content I was generating with these flows, a lot of the competing results were tools. They're like a PNG converter, like that sort of stuff ranks really well on Google. So what I was doing is screenshotting the page and then having AI tell me whether this was a tool or not. Because on those pages, you won't have much text content. If you were going to summarize the blog post, it's actually just a usable tool. And then I feed that into a big chunk of information that is providing the competitive analysis, the ranking results, the keyword value, and the keyword. So if we go here, Y Combinator interview, startup advice. Let's go look here what the output was. This would be being written to my Notion, but it has a keyword difficulty. The word startup advice has a keyword difficulty of 46, which is really high, and a 70 search volume. For all of these keywords, they're pretty low search intent and not that valuable because not that many people are searching Y Combinator interview. But the top ranking results are linked here. Sam Altman's blog on startup advice. YC's 4D, I don't know what this is, but their essential startup advice. This is the second ranking post. And it's also screenshotting all of these. to let me know, like, if this was a tool. I can view all of these screenshots here. So that the AI was able to look at those and tell me what it saw. This is, like, I think a little too complex for what most people need, but it was pretty fun to build, and it was useful for several of our customers. Yeah, I mean, all of this analysis can be dumped wherever you'd like. If you want it in an email notification, or you want it just literally anywhere else, you can throw it. Even if you want it like in your internal DB, you can call an API if you want to go that far with it, and write it to your internal system. Yeah. Okay. That was an overview of all of these SEO flows that I had working over the last couple of weeks. I thought maybe we could revisit the internal linking flow and try it live on one of your websites. Okay, I'll go and look at one of the ones that someone suggested originally for the internal linking thing. We can maybe try it on a bunch and look at the quality of the content and how to improve it. If I use a cheap LLM in Gumloop, such as Llama 3, will that make my credit last longer? Yeah, it will. So we have this concept of standard AI calls and advanced AI calls. Standard AI calls are only 2 credits. Those are all of like the GPT 3.5, Llama, Claude, Haiku. All of those models are priced a lot lower than more expensive models. But if you really want to save credits, I would recommend putting in your own API key. You can do that by going to your personal settings, going to your credentials, and then pasting in your own API keys here. That will wipe the credit cost. Even if you're using an advanced model like a GPT-4o, it will reduce the cost to 1 credit. So you can do 30,000 AI calls, for example, on the cheapest tier. How does auto select for model preference work? That is a really good question. It is all running through keywords.ai. These guys, this YC company, keywordsai.co. Sorry, I got the domain wrong. But they have a service that intelligently maps models based on the prompt and the task at hand. Definitely a bit more of an experimental feature, but they have a really great product, and it's quite interesting to see what model it uses and when. Okay, I'm going to go back to this internal linking example and run it on one of your live examples. Enter infraless.com sitemap.xml. I'm not sure if that's the one I tried before. It is, I think. infinitepay.io/blog. Cool. Sitemap.xml. Okay, this sitemap looks the same. Sorry. Let's try. Okay. Oh, it's in Spanish. Crap. Okay, this one down here. Otadu. Let's see if this is in Spanish. I just want to use one that's in English so that I can make sure I can also approve the contents. Okay, that looks good to me. Okay, let me do this one. 3, 2, 1, I'm running it in a second. Okay, here. We'll try sharefable.com. And then I'll throw this in here. Okay, I think I should sharefable.com. Sorry for the sitemap.xml. Okay, this sharefable.com/blog sitemap should be all of their blog posts. And I'll hit run. So it's getting all the sitemap URLs. I think there was something tricky with certain sitemaps not being formatted as the node expected. Okay. I'm not sure why this failed. Let's see what the inputs are. Oh, it got no links, apparently. Oh, I know why, because I passed in the sitemap.xml and then it went /sitemap.xml/sitemap.xml. Okay, now it's working. Sorry for the confusion. And it's reading 15 at the same time. And we can go dive deep into one of these to see what's happening. It's in the middle of scraping. Let me just view this. Okay, so share fable, sales readiness versus sales enablement. The word sales enablement should be linked to sales enablement key benefits explained. That's a really good internal link. In that same blog post, interactive product demos should be linked to the ultimate product demo guide for sales teams, a comprehensive guide. Oh no, to close more deals. These are long. Okay. Yeah, that seems great. Top sales enablement challenges - Fable has the word sales enablement, which should be linked to unveiling the power of sales enablement, a comprehensive guide. Looks pretty good. And it's going to keep going for every single blog post one at a time, as diligently as it did the last one. The quality doesn't really drop off because it's taking its time with one post at a time. But it'll keep writing all of the internal linking opportunities. One other thing that users have been interested in is actually how you go from taking these internal links and taking action on them, changing the content of your blog and publishing it immediately. That would probably take just an integration with whatever CMS you're using. So if you're on Webflow or Ghost, it would probably require an edit node, which we could ship, but would be relatively easy to do as like a V2 of this sort of automation. One exciting part of this sort of flow is that every time you make a new piece of content, you can update your old content with a link to this new one. So it's kind of retroactive. You can always link forward, which is something that we didn't used to do at all internally. Whenever I put a new blog post out, I would never have a reference to it from old content because I didn't even know where in the old content there'd be an opportunity to link things. Okay, I want to show off one other little thing here, how you can make this more palatable. So like this internal linking tool is useful, but it is, if you were to send this to someone who didn't sit through this workshop and doesn't know what Gumloop is, they'd most likely be a little confused. So one thing you can do is click on these two input nodes. You can specify after clicking show as user input a description. So I can say something like the root domain of your website as the description. And then here I'll pass in the path to a blog on your website. And I'll give an example so people aren't confused, like gumloop.com/blog. Both of these are text inputs. And then if I click open user view, I have this dynamic UI so that someone else could just use this interface without having to, they don't even know that all of this is happening with all this crazy scraping and analysis. It just feels to them like a really simple UI where they get the link to their Google Sheet as output, and it feels like magic, like this. We're basically at time. Hopefully I answered all the questions in the chat. I saw some fly by, but yeah. Next workshop, could we pre-submit real use cases, or can you provide examples of from clients? Names can be redacted to show ROI value before and after. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can definitely do that. I think a lot of large companies in particular are a bit nervous of like proclaiming that AI did a ton of their work. So I would have to definitely anonymize things, but yeah, I can absolutely do that. One thing I'm trying to do is make these sort of verticalized use cases, like for a marketing or content team, more palatable by by making like sub landing pages and hopefully just ready to run toolkits. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to incorporate this user view that I just showed you into the actual templates themselves. So you don't even need to look at the flow. All you have to do is fill in a value and click run from the template page. But yeah, that's a great question, Ryan. Okay. Let me know if there are other questions. I'm happy this time I didn't miss all questions in the chat like the last workshop. Sorry about that if you were there. Cool. Thanks everyone for attending. If you have any other questions, feel free to message in the Discord or email me at max@gumloop.com. I'll try to answer. The Discord's probably a better place to get support though. And instead of linking all of these flows in the chat, I will just simply publish them all as templates. So you'll be able to visit gumloop.com/templates and then see all of these pre-built flows. Awesome. Almost exactly at time. So see you at the next workshop. Everybody, thanks for attending.